Heidi ho everybody. Got another installment of the engine build series here. This is going to be an inventory of all of the parts that have arrived for me today, and there are a bunch of them. Massive haul, big step forward. I have probably over 90% of what I need to finish the motor, and the rest is outside of the engine stuff like the headers and carburetor. It's basically the only thing left to get. So without further ado, I'm going to start showing you all the goodness that I have gotten from Summit, Amazon, Speedway, wherever I can find it cheap. I've got it all here right now. Let's take a look. Okay, first on the list in front of you is an engine hoist. This was sourced from Harbor Freight. It's their 2-ton engine jack hoist, crane, whatever you want to call it. I got this right now because I didn't want to pass up this deal. $189. This was regular $240, so that's 50 bucks off. I just had to pick it up because I knew I would need it in the future. I've already got it assembled. Of course, it came unassembled. It was a piece of cake to throw together. It took like 20, 25 minutes, let's say, to put this together. It's it's a hell of a deal. I don't care if it only works 4 times. I've got my money's worth out of it. So, first thing there, got an engine hoist. Then, down here on the ground, not assembled yet, is an engine cradle. Once I get this engine completed, I do not want it sitting around on the engine stand, only held on by the back 4 bolts. I want something a little more sturdy to keep it in place, so I'm going to transfer it with the crane I just showed you to this engine's cradle when it's assembled. So another thing I got from Harbor Freight, by the way, I got this from Speedway Motors. That was again a value deal. They were the cheapest one I found. Then I've got this engine cart here. I'm only showing you the bottom part of it here because I've got something I want to unveil on the top, but it's a roller 3-shelf cart. Got that from Harbor Freight as well. So that'll help me keep the parts close to me and the tools around me so I don't have to go back and forth to the workbench a lot. All right, now the parts. You know, I just can't keep the suspense down. I've got my cylinder heads. There they are. Look at that shiny aluminum-ness there. These are Blueprint engine cylinder heads. They're 202 160s. They have 575 rated for hydraulic flat tappet springs. I think the seat pressure is like 300, something like that. A little stronger than some of the other ones I saw on the spring size. It just means it can handle a little more lift. Has 3/8 studs installed for the rockers. It also came with guide plates for 5/16 push rods. This is only slightly lower in the CFM on the intake runners than the Promax heads I was looking at, and they were $50 cheaper for a pair. So they flowed 195 on the intake side. The Promaxes flowed 200, so there's just going to be a marginal difference. The flow bench numbers, though, were nearly identical. So even with that 5 less CFM, the flow benches, there's really no appreciable loss. So these were, I don't want to give prices away, but they were the cheapest good American-made heads I could find that came assembled. So that's why I went with them. I got 2 of them. There's just unboxed 1 right there on the bench. And to go with those, I have got my head gaskets. I got Velcro. I can't remember if these are MLS gaskets or composites, but anyway, Velcro gaskets. These have a bore of 4.08. So that's the smallest outside diameter I could find to go with my 4030 piston bore. 4100 would have been the most common, but I wanted something a little tighter to the cylinder head to keep the compression up as high as I could. Their compressed thickness is 39 thousandths. I was going to run 35 thousandths, but I just couldn't find any. There weren't like $100 per gasket. So again, sacrificing a little compression to save some money, but that's all right. Between these heads and all the other calculations I've done with these head gaskets, I should still be sitting at about a 460, that's ridiculous, a 965 to 970 to 1 compression ratio, which is down 1/10 from what I was planning with the 980 with the Promax heads and like a 35 thousandths gasket. So again, a slight compromise between performance and cost right there. To go with the heads and the head gaskets, I've got my ARP head bolts. There was no way I was going to use anything other than ARP on this first build. Wasn't going to take a chance with any other off-brand head bolts. These are not torque to yield, so I can reuse them. They're not degreed. They're actually torque rated, so I think they go up to like 70 pounds. Either way, the point is if I have to take the head back off, I don't have to throw the bolts away. So got those. What else did I get? Small things. I got my distributor tie down. Oh, I got my draggy, which I've had for a while. That's just laying there. I've only used it a couple times. I've got an aluminum filler neck for my water jacket on the intake with the gasket and bolts. Small things there. I have got, I think behind here, I have got my intake bolts that I bought. They're not 12 point, they were cheap. I wasn't going to spend a lot of money on intake bolts. I could have got the ARP 12 points, but they would have been like $30 versus the $10 I gave for those. Got to save it where you can. Now you're asking yourself, well, why did you get all that intake material? Well, because I got my intake too. The train keeps rolling. Got the Edelbrock Performer RPM intake. It is a dual plane kind of mid-rise intake that matched up well with these Blueprint engine heads that I got. These were kind of recommended. They are known to fit the heads, so I shouldn't have to do any surfacing. And minimal port matching, which I'm still going to check the ports, and if I have to do any port matching, I'll grind a little bit on them just to get them smooth. But everybody knows Edelbrock, made in the USA. No one's afraid of this material here. It all works good. So stoked. So yeah, got the intake. What's missing? Heads, intake. Well, you got to put something on the heads. I've got my rockers. Nice gold Speedmaster. Yeah, I don't know about that, but these were a value proposition, although there's no value when you spend the money I spent on them. I got the set of 16. They came with poly locks. These are 1.5 ratio. Again, I said I was going to maybe run 1.6s to get a little more lift out of the cam and a little more performance, but I've got to be realistic. And the realisticness of it was there was a slight increase in price for 1.6s, but the real fear I had was with these aggressive valve springs for a flat tappet cam, I wanted to keep the pressure down on the camshaft. The only thing about this motor I'm really questioning, it's not even a question of what I've done, it's just that I'm nervous about is the cam break-in. So it's possible that these are dual spring heads, by the way, and it's possible I may run these to the machine shop before I install them and have that middle spring pulled out for break-in. If I don't exceed like 2,500 RPMs, this big outer spring has enough pressure to actuate the lifter and return it to its place after the lobe clears it without putting undue stress on the cam lobes. I'm going to talk to some people I know, maybe call the machine shop and get an opinion on that. But at a minimum, I at least took a little bit of stress off the cam by running 1.5s instead of 1.6s. So that's what I'm nervous about, and that's why I went the direction I did on those. But these things look cool as hell, and they're going to look so stunning under the valve cover. Hopefully no one will ever see them again, but I'll know they're there. Oh, they are roller. I probably guessed that because they're the good aluminums. They have roller bearings. They're not solid rockers. Kind of free up a little horsepower by eliminating some resistance that way. What else do we have here? Seems like, oh yes, I am forgetting something. Down here, let me put the camera down for a moment. Show you the last big thing I got in here. This is a 100% certified Chinesian distributor. I could tell you the brand, but you'd probably never heard of it, and you probably never want to buy it for yourself. But this was only it was less than $60. High energy distributor with cap, rotor, vacuum advanced. This is cool looking. We'll see if it works. That's all I'm going to say about that. I've already test fit it into the journal in the block, and at least the inner ring here for the oil passage seems to fit, which is a good start. So we'll get that installed at the proper time and see how that works out. Honestly, I'm not going to say I have my doubts about this, but if this fails, I'm not going to be shocked. Oh, I had this together and I can't figure out how. Well, I'm just going to scoot you back there for now. I'll put you up later. So that's where we're at. Lots of stuff. Many an empty box laying around the garage waiting for breakdown and recycling. Yeah, I said the R word while talking about building a big American V8. It happens. Got to be give back a little where you can. So, gonna take my time on this. Probably not even gonna start assembling this until later this weekend. I have 3 days off coming up, and I'm gonna try to take advantage of those. I am probably, and that's actually one thing I forgot to show, I did get a push rod checker so I can measure for my push rods. I'm gonna slap one of the heads on with a head gasket and just get 2 bolts in it to hold it in place. Not gonna torque it down, not gonna risk compressing the head gasket before I'm ready, but I'm gonna throw a couple of rockers on and I'm gonna measure the length of my push rods. That's the only thing I have left to acquire before I can close this engine up and start working on the future plans, where I'm going to have to get an engine run stand and build that up with some gauges and get a starter, get headers. So maybe we'll see. I'm thinking out loud by the end of January, early February, I might just have this thing to a point where I can pull the trigger on it and start her up. Which is a little, it's still in the window I was looking for, springish, a little ahead of schedule because I got such a deal on these parts, but that's where it is. So I'll film these parts as they get installed. My son may be coming down this weekend, give me a hand with it. I've been wanting to get him involved on this build for, well, since the beginning, but it's just tough to get together with him right now. Hopefully it comes down this weekend and we can get these heads at intake and everything installed to make this look like a complete motor. So look at your notifications, subscribe if you haven't already, and when those videos come out, you will be the first to know. We'll see you later.